Hello, my friend, this is Jono. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they start new communities is they create an online home, such as a forum or a Slack channel or a platform, something like that, and then they just kind of expect people to show up. And 9 times out of 10, they don't. And often you get a kind of ghost town of a community with nothing happening. Now, why is this? Well, the reason why is because our world is filled with distractions, right? There's work, there's family, there's video games and music and movies and events and all kinds of stuff going on. And your community just isn't able to compete effectively enough with all of those distractions, and therefore no one shows up. So what I'm going to show you in this video is a concrete framework that I use to kind of punch above all of those distractions and bring in brand new people into your community and get them really excited about it. All right? Now, let's start out by mapping out the overall kind of blueprint for how communities tend to work, and then I'm going to show you how to pull people in. Now, I've been designing this over the course of my career, and this is called the Community Participation Framework, okay? Now, all communities start out with people, right? We want to focus on who our target audience is. So this could be users of your product or service, it could be people who want to join your music community, your activism community, whatever it might be. But we need to be clear about what our audience wants, okay? Now, usually when people just put up an online home like a forum and they just say, hey, check out our community, come and join us. We're all really nice people and really fun, okay? People don't join because there's not a compelling reason for them to join, okay? So what we want to do is we want to give them a piece of value, and that's represented by this star here, okay? So the goal that we've got, and this is what I want to cover in this video, is how do we get them a piece of value that's worthwhile to them, that's interesting to them, that's attractive to them, okay? We get them jazzed about this value, and then what happens is they then go through the community journey, okay? And this community journey is broken into 3 phases: casual, regular, and core, and I cover that in some of my other videos, okay? So I'm not gonna be covering any of this. I just wanna cover this piece here. How do we get somebody to a piece of value before they even step foot into your community that nurtures them, gets them excited, and then that starts the journey of bringing them into our community, okay? Now you may be thinking, all right, Jono, what do you mean by value? What are you talking about? Well, there's many different types of value out there, okay? And let me walk through a couple of examples. So one is, one is webinars, okay? So a great piece of value you can offer is you run a webinar. So this is something that my friends at Vanilla Forums did. Let me get rid of this. A while back, you know, so they basically said, hey, Jono, could you come and speak on one of our webinars? And most people who joined this webinar probably weren't familiar with Vanilla Forums. They probably weren't in their community. They probably weren't users of their product. But they showed up to the session, and I talked about how to build communities. And then what would happen is that would then, you know, they would pop in their first name and email address and all the rest of it. And then that would start the journey towards nurturing them into the community. And again, I'll talk about the nurture piece a little bit later on, okay? Now, another example here could be, let's do this one, which is ConvertKit. It could be content, okay? So we've talked about webinars, but another example could be how-to guides. So one of the things that ConvertKit do a really great job with Tradecraft is they've got all of these ebooks, how to create and sell your ebook online for free, how to build a loyal community with a consistent connection, all of these really cool things that they offer. And then what you can do is I can click on read this guide. And then again, I go here and I pop in my first name and email address. Now you may be noticing something that's consistent here, which is we're asking for their email address, right? And this is really important. It's relatively easy and low friction for somebody to pop their email address into a form if the value that you're offering them is interesting enough, right? If you were to say, hey, just can I have your email address? Then you probably wouldn't get it from them. But if you say, I'm gonna give you a webinar or an ebook or something that is going to really help solve your problems and help you to have, you know, success in whatever you're trying to do. In exchange for that, would you give me your email address? Then people are usually very, very interested in doing so. Okay, this is a tactic that the marketing world has been doing for many years, and I'm surprised that more community managers don't do this. Okay, now another example of value could be. And this is a fairly new community called LFX, could be content and support, okay? So in here, you can see this guy, Henry, is providing some information for how to use one of the tools. LFX is essentially a platform that helps you to build open source software. And then inside of the community, people can go in and ask questions and get help within the community itself, okay? So these kinds of guides, this is actually within their platform, in their community platform, which is Discourse. These kinds of guides are super compelling for people because they can go and they can read about how to use a new piece of the product, a new piece of the tool that's kind of bringing them into the community, okay? Another example is actually with Fitbit. So they have this Fitbit Community Council, and this is kind of, it's not a great example in many ways because these are people who've been around the Fitbit community for a while. But what I wanted to showcase here is these are all community council members. These people feed into how the Fitbit community operates. But if you go here to the guidelines, you can see what can council members expect from Fitbit. So they get sample products, they get private forum access. This is the value that they get. Can't select this. That's annoying. Wow, that's really slow. Okay, that sucked. These are all the benefits that they get from becoming a council member. So even though this is somebody who's further along in the journey, my point here is that they get things, they get value out of participation, okay? So my point here is that whether it's you're offering a webinar or an ebook, or you're providing other kinds of perks, so you're providing a place where people can get answers to their questions, or something else, you want to get clear on what is this value that I'm offering this individual. This is before you ever expect them to come in and join your community, to register for your community. And what you're asking them for in return for this is their email address, okay? That's it. Now, let's now talk about the framework about how we then deliver this, okay? And I'm gonna first of all, get rid of this using the magic spray. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you a specific set of steps that you can go through for how to create that value and then how you can nurture people, okay? So what we're gonna do, the first thing we're gonna do is you wanna create your offering, okay? Now, this is where you go and create your webinar or your ebook or you run an event or something along those lines. And what you want to do when you're thinking about this is remember everything that we're doing here is designed on our target audience. We need to first of all assume that they're not members of your community, right? When you offer this, sometimes your existing community members may actually join. But this is going to be the broader group of people that are out there. So let's say, for the sake of argument, you've got a software service, right? Let's say it's something like Google Docs. Your offering should be interesting to the kind of people who will be interested in using your service. So that's going to be people who are going to be, in the productivity space. Maybe they're running businesses. So when you're thinking about the offering, what you want to do is you want to focus on pain, okay? What is the pain that they're experiencing in their life, and how does your offering relieve that pain, okay? So for example, if you've got this, and I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here with an idea, let's say you've got this service, which is kind of a Google Docs style service. Maybe one thing that people struggle with is they just don't know how to create spreadsheets to manage their business, right? So you could create an ebook, which is, 5 spreadsheet hacks using your spreadsheet service to manage your books or manage a P&L or whatever it might be, okay? Let's say your target audience is going to be musicians, right? And let's say musicians who are mixing their own music and they don't know how to mix vocals. Like, that's one thing that's really hard when mixing music is to get vocals, like the singer, to sit inside of a mix and sound good. So maybe you could create a webinar, which is where you'll show how to mix vocals for rock music in 5 steps, okay? So think about what your offering is going to be and then you go and create it, all right? Now, the next step is you need to create a landing page, okay? So this is a page where people will go and they will learn about what you're offering, and then they will pop in their first name and email address. So if I go back to my computer here, okay, this is an example of the landing page that the Vanilla Forums team put together. Now, to be honest with you, it's not a very good landing page, okay? There's too much text. The one thing that is good is that the opt-in form here is above the fold. You definitely want to do that. Conversions go up, okay? But essentially what a landing page should have is a compelling title, and it should tell you what you're going to get out of it. And this is okay. I mean, I gave them this title, right? I think that's okay. But these are the 4 things that you get out of coming to my session when I delivered this session for Vanilla. But you want your landing page to tell people why on earth they should be interested in your offering, okay? So what you've got now is you've got some kind of digital offering or an event that they can sign up for, and you've got a page where people can go and pop in their first name and their email address. Now, just ask for their first name and email address. Don't ask for anything else. You could ask for company and all the rest of it, but you want to lower the friction. The whole point of this is that it's an easy click for somebody to be able to unlock this, okay? All right, step number 3. Now what you want to do is get out there and promote, okay? So you want to go out there and promote this on social media. You want to promote it on any email lists that you've got, promote it with other events that you might be speaking at. Make sure you get out there and bang the drum as loudly as possible, okay? Now, think about who your audience is and where they tend to hang out, and then you can go and target your audience with your offering there, right? So again, if you're targeting musicians, maybe you could reach out to some music websites and ask them if they'd be interested in sharing that you're offering a webinar on how to mix vocals. Or you could post into some forums that musicians hang out in. Now, if you're posting into other communities, make sure you do it in a thoughtful way, okay? Because you could annoy the people who are running that community, and you obviously don't want that. But get out there and promote it. And then what's happening now is that you've now got a machine set up that is going to offer your audience some value, and critically is you're going to get a big list of email addresses and first names out of it. And that's what we want, okay? Because that's going to be the beginning of our nurture process, okay? And I'm going to get into that in just a second. But the key thing here is that the offering that you're putting out there, the reason why this works is because, imagine, let's kind of play it through, okay? Imagine I'm a prospective user of this Google Docs style platform, right? I see on social media that somebody is providing a free ebook on how I can use their spreadsheet tool to easily run my business, right? And I'm kind of annoyed at my spreadsheet, so I pop in my first name and email address. I'm not convinced when I pop in my first name and email address whether this is going to be worthwhile to me. But then what happens is I download the book. It's super easy to read. It's like 15, 20 pages. It gives me exactly what I want to do quickly and easily. And then boom, I'm running my business better, okay? What's happening here is something that's really important. Let me get a different pen. An orange pen, okay? This is creating something called reciprocity, okay? Reciprocity is when somebody does something nice for somebody else, and then the other person feels like they need to repay that good deed in some kind of way. So what's happening psychologically is that when you create that offering, they can easily go and sign up for it, and then they get value out of the thing that you're offering, which is your ebook, for example. Is they're going to be like, wow, that company or organization, whatever, gave me a lot of value from this. Now I start feeling some sense of appreciation for that, okay? And what happens with reciprocity is when you keep offering value over and over again, that's when people feel like they need to think about giving back, okay? So what we're gonna do now is we're going to the nurture phase. So you offer your thing, your webinar, your ebook, whatever. You create the landing page, you promote it, and then what happens is we nurture people, okay? And this is done with email. Email nurture, okay? So what happens is because you got their first name in email, what we want to do is we want to send them a bunch of emails, okay? So email number 1, okay? This is going to be access, okay? So this is where you basically say, thank you for popping in your first name and email address, and here's where you can go and download, or here's how you join the webinar. You know, this is how you get access to the thing that you just popped your email address in for, okay? So that's pretty straightforward. You get that immediately. Email number 2, this is where we ask them something, okay? So what you do, send this like 2 or 3 days later, and you just ask them a question. You say, hey, I just wanted to, learn a little bit more about what you're looking for. Like, what problems are you trying to solve, or what are you struggling with right now? Now, when you send these emails out, you can use an automated email platform, something like ConvertKit or MailChimp or something along those lines. There's plenty of videos online for how to do that. And even though these emails are automated, right? So this first email will go out as soon as somebody pops in their first name and email address. The second email will go out maybe 2 or 3 days later. You can still ask questions in those emails, but you want to make sure that the email address that you're sending these emails from is one that you're monitoring. Because when somebody replies to that email, and some people will, you want to make sure that you then reply. So if you think about the journey, right? They saw this offering that was online, on the landing page. They popped in their first name and email address, right? They get the value from this, so that you sent them the email with whatever they were signing up for. They enjoy what they're reading or watching or whatever. And then you send them an email and say, hey, just tell us a little bit more about what you're looking for, what you're struggling with. So they respond thinking, no one's ever going to see this. And then you respond. What's that doing? It's giving them a really amazing experience, okay? They're all, again, getting value out of this, all right? So by the time they get to this email, this sense of reciprocity is really starting to resonate with them. And they're now thinking very, very positive things about you, your organization, all the rest of it, okay? Now, email 3 and email 4 are both the same. And this is where you offer them more value, okay? You just send them more useful information, send them links to guides, or send them tips and tricks and best practices. Just more material that's going to be useful to your target audience, okay? Because again, what we're doing is we're heaping on that value because we want to juice up that reciprocity. So, they unlock whatever you're offering. They may reply to you with this email over here, and you reply back to them. That's great. They get even more value. So by the time they get to the end of email number 4, they've had 3 chunks of value and potentially an interaction with you, okay? And let me be clear, this is an awesome experience for your audience. They're loving this at this point. They're thinking, wow, this is really amazing. I'm so glad I popped in my first name and email address. They're having a very, very positive experience, and the whole thing is automated, okay? With the exception of this email here that you'll be monitoring, and so you can respond to it. The whole thing is automated. So this allows you to scale this out pretty widely. And then this is where the community comes in. Email number 5 is where we introduce the community. This is when you basically say, hey, I'm hoping you're finding a lot of value out of the things I've been sending you, but we've built this incredible place where our community come together to spend time with each other. We post loads of great content there. We, we'll answer your questions. We're regularly doing monthly sweepstakes and, monthly sessions or whatever. You give them a reason to go and sign up. But what's happening when you introduce that is you've now introduced your community based upon a body of value, okay? And that is the reason why I would recommend you use this approach. Because instead of just, think about the alternative, right? Hey, we've got a forum. Go check it out. That's so uninteresting, okay? But if we start this journey with this thing, right, that's really interesting to them, and then what happens is we then pile on this additional value. Then when you say, I want to come, I want to introduce you, encourage you to come and join our community, at that point, this is a much more exciting, much more compelling prospect for them, all right? Anyway, hope that was useful. If you found it useful, be sure to let me know in the comments. If you've got any questions, pop them into the comments. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you on the other side. Peace out.